Hey. Oh, look at this. Um, Seems I got some more room in my. Um, okay. Hi. Hello, Erev Parshat Zachor. This is my little concession to Purim. Do you like it? Matches my nail polish. Yes. Okay. So we had Tanit Esther yesterday, and with the huge global unity, Shema Yisrael all around the world at the same time. We are expecting miracles. Wow, it's going to be great. And this year it's going to be a real serious nafachu. So I'll have to get a more serious costume. But right now, this is my um, costume for Purim. I want to tell you a little bit about Parashat Zachor. This week is called Shabbat Zachor, and it's the predecessor to Purim, right before we come into Purim, which is supposed to be a huge turnabout and a huge geulah and a huge redemption, and Hashem is just going to come and turn all the bad things into good, and it's going to be amazing, and the Jewish people are going to have light and happiness and joy and glory, and everything is going to be great. Right before that, we always have a Shabbat Zachor where we go to shul and we listen to the story of how Amalek attacked us on the way from Egypt to Israel. We were about to go into the land of Israel after receiving the Torah, and Amalek attacked us. And it says a very interesting thing. First of all, it says Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek. Amalek did something to you, and you better remember that. Amalek did something to you. It didn't say attacked you. It says what they did to you on the way. And then it says not what they attacked you on the way, but it says asher karcha baderech. They chanced upon you on the way. And it seems like that word chance, karcha, also comes from the root of kar, which means cooled you off. They kind of made you chilled a little bit. They cooled you off a little bit. You were hot, you were passionate, you were excited about life, about God, and they chilled you off. They cooled you off. So that's number one. Another like, what is that understanding? And also, like, what is the idea of remembering Amalek so many years later, and then when you do finally destroy them, it says Uvehaya behaniach Elokim lecha mikol oivecha misaviv. When Hashem gets rid of all your enemies from around you, which is like, really? When is that going to happen? That, in the end of days, when Hashem does that for you, then you need to take that evil, that Amalek, machotimche, et zecher Amalek, as we say now these days in Israel, nitzachon muchlat. You better wipe them off the face of the earth. Raze them to the ground. Do not leave anybody standing from that nation, Amalek. And the question is why? And Netivot Shalom says a few things. First of all, he says, Amalek eina milchama gashmit kipshuta. The battle against Amalek is not a physical battle. It's not a physical war. Just like pshat, like literally a war that we go against one nation, get rid of them, move on. No, it is the sitra achra. It says like this. Hu rosh hasitra achra umilchamto milchama ruchanit neged Israel. It always comes to fight against Israel in the most opportune times. Momentous occasions are about to happen. Big redemptions, big spiritual heights. And that's when Amalek, who in different generations represents different nations. It doesn't have to always be the physical nation of Amalek, who we really don't know who they are these days. But no matter what, throughout the generations, there's going to be one nation that takes on the epitome of evil. I think in these days it's very obvious that Hamas has taken on the epitome of evil, And the Torah tells us you have to remember that. Zachor et asher asa lecha Amalek. That is the epitome of evil, and they are always going to fight you right before you are about to have a very serious, big redemption. They are going to come against you, and they are going to try and prevent you from reaching that redemption, from reaching those heights, those spiritual heights. So they came to fight you right before you were going to go into the lands of Israel back in the day. Then they fought us again in Shaul's time when we were about to build the Beit HaMikdash, the first Beit HaMikdash. And now Haman came up against the Jewish people when they were going to go back to the land of Israel after the first exile and build the second Beit HaMikdash. So that was delayed by this force of evil that comes against them. And I kind of feel like now what happened in October 7th was definitely a precursor to a very serious, big redemption. And so they get nervous, like the side of evil gets very, very nervous that they're about to be wiped out, that this is it, that this is the time when evil is going to be wiped out from the world. And so they come to fight against us. So the Torah tells us it's not going to happen right now. You're not going to be able to fight them completely and wipe them off the face of the earth. Maybe now we will be able to, because it's really the end of days. But the Torah says what you can do is you can try and dampen their ability. You can try and weaken them a little bit, weaken that strength of evil. And I remember on our trip, we had the solidarity mission, this amazing, awesome solidarity mission that I'm still on a high from, really. I can't believe how amazing it was and awesome. And it wasn't awesome in terms of like being extremely joyful. It was very, there were a lot of devastating aspects to it. But we went to Kfar Aza, and we saw the ruins and we saw the destruction, and it was horrible. We also spoke to the father, Shimon El-Kabetz of Sivan, and who was murdered in Kfar Aza, in her bed, in her home. And it was very, very upsetting, very upsetting. It was kind of like a trip to the Holocaust Museum or to Poland or to the ghettos or whatever. But besides that, her father was saying something very amazing. And this is the message, I think, of Zachor. He says, I used to think I was a leftist, liberal person. And I used to think that, we Jews, if we're just nice to everybody else, we taught our children to be good, kind, nice people, to be accepting, to be tolerant. And if we're tolerant and we're accepting and we're good and we're kind, the world will be kind to us and everything will be good and there will be peace in the world. And you know what? I realized I made a mistake. I should have taught my daughter to be aware that there is very serious evil in this world and you cannot be tolerant of that. And you need to fight against evil and you cannot accept anything and everything. And that is what I should have taught her. And that is my message to you today, he said to us. It was like, oh my goodness, this is Amalek. This is Zachor. It's Asher Asah Lecha Amalek. If you don't remember it, then you are cooling off your passion for good. You are cooling off. That's exactly what Amalek does. It cools you off. It chills you so that you are not fully passionate against evil. If you want to be a good person, that includes being passionately, violently fighting against evil. Okay? And that is his message to us. And if he can say that, in his over his daughter's house that was just recently destroyed to that extent, and his daughter was killed, he can say that. I think that's really the message of this parsha. You need to remember that you cannot be cooled off. You cannot go ahead and talk about Nebuch, the poor Palestinians, or the poor Hamas people, or the poor this, or the poor that. You can't. That's called not fighting evil. That's called cooling yourself off. Now you don't have any personal values and passion for good. And that is what has to happen before the Geula can come. First, we remember Amalek. And he says, very nice, the way that we do that, not only by just remembering it, oh, never again, wow, we have to fight evil. But he says also the way to do it is dafka on Shabbat. Because on Shabbat, you have the opposite, opposing good force of Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekadsho. Remember Shabbat to keep it holy. We have holiness. So it's not only remembering the bad, but actively increasing holiness. Holiness in our lives means Shabbat, means connecting to Hashem, means mindfulness, means elevating the physical, making it spiritual, bringing our lives to a more elevated realm where we have Hashem in our lives. Okay, so that's what holiness is, and that's what the antidote to Zachor et Asher Asah Lecha Amalek. When Amalek cools you down, and that changes you. Asher Asah Lecha, it changed you. Amalek changes us if we let it, but we can't let it. And we have to counteract that remembrance with Zachor et Yom HaShabbat lekadsho, bringing Hashem into our lives, increasing light in ourselves, in others, spreading that light to others. And he also says something very nice, that every time you do something good in the world, what does he say? Oh, here he goes. This is very cool. Every day that you do a good thing for your friend, כל יום שיהודי לא עושה בו טובה לחברו, אינו נחשב ליום בחיים. A day when you do not increase good in the world in some way and give to a friend, a smile, a compliment, a hug, just like being there for them, it is not considered a day in your life. So in order to increase light and good in this world, we need to continue every single day to do chesed. And we see it in Israel. There's so much going on. But us personally, you have to really look for it. You have to think, did I do chesed today? And if I didn't, I need to increase holiness, increase good, increase light in the world by doing one chesed for one person. And on the other hand, I also have to do כל שלא עשה דבר להכעיס את יצר הרע. If I did not do something on that day to make my yetzer hara, to make my little Amalek, the force of evil within me, mad, I have to make it mad, make it angry at me. And if I can do that, a day that I didn't do that is also not considered a day in your life. So every day you have to do both sides. The good, the increasing the good, the zachor, the remember, but also al tishkach. Move away from evil, push away the evil, make it mad, make that little Amalek angry every single time. Just push something away, whatever it is, whatever your desires are, but just be in the fight, and show your Yetzer Hara that it's not getting the best of you. Okay, that's really my point. And also for Purim, you just have to remember that it's a day in which Hashem gives you, like Esther, Hashem said, or the king said, but it's talking about Hashem. Anything you want, I will give you, up until half the kingdom. Okay? And on Purim, we have this concept that everyone who asks for something, kol haposhet yad notnim lo. If you go outside and you see a beggar and they're asking you for a few shekels or whatever, you need to give them, even though you don't know if they're, if they're completely, deserving of your tzedakah. Maybe you haven't done any research on them. You don't know what their credentials are. Why are they standing here? They look like they're a perfectly able young man. Why can't they go to work? Don't make any accounts, any thoughts in your mind like that. And Hashem reciprocates and also doesn't do any kind of research on you and figuring out if you're deserving of good. So we can ask for anything we want. Now, it's not just throughout the day. It should be, actually, if you can think about it, b'mishteh hayayin, during the Seudah on Purim, you can actually, if you can take a few moments, and I mean, who even has the time? But if you can, and just close your eyes and think of what it is that you want and ask Hashem for it, you basically are guaranteed to get it. Okay, so that's amazing. And I also heard that during the Megillah, you can also such a distracting time, wow, how are you supposed to stop in the middle of the Megillah and think about what you want? But yes, I have actually found that it's a very good time to do it is during the Hamans, right? The kids are busy, making noise with their groggers and stamping their feet, and there's so much noise going on in the shul. I literally close my eyes during the Hamans and I think about what it is that I would like to ask Hashem for. And I'm basically I'm guaranteed that Hashem will answer me, at least up until half the kingdom. So at least half of what I'm asking for will get answered, which is pretty good. So we have to focus on asking for a lot of good things, on prayer, on finding the time to focus on Hashem, and on, on one hand, and just going into Purim, first of all, remembering the evil, remembering that we're not forgetting the evil. I also heard somebody, a mom of a hostage, say the other day, I understand that people are going back to life, but I don't really, I don't believe that people are just living their lives around me, and she just felt so bad about that. And if we can just show her that we care, well, we're, of course we care, and of course we remember, but if we can go out of our way to help, especially the moms of the hostages, the families of the hostages, the families of the people who died in the war. And that's on one hand. Remember evil. Remember that we're fighting evil. We're fighting something very serious. And on the other hand, increasing light and asking Hashem for good things. Have a great Purim, good Shabbos.